Musical, and the star is with me, Suzy Cadham. Hi there.
Hey, Patti.
How many times have we tried to get together?
Many, many times, but our schedules are just too tough.
Always.
But thank you so much for having me on your
I'm so
show.
glad you're here.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
And especially to talk about my one-woman show because, you know, it's been such a long-time dream of mine because, as you know, I'm one of the original Dean Martin Gold Diggers.
That's right.
And most of your audience, you'd have to be grandmothers to have seen us.
I saw you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But we always perform together, and I'm with 6 or 12 other girls, but always I wanted to step out and be on my own. And my husband had been after me for years to really do my own show, because I did start out as a solo performer, sort of like you.
Yeah.
And it took a couple of years to develop. It's not easy. If anybody wants to do it, it's not easy to develop your own show. You got to get the right people around you and people who have your same vision. And that finally happened. And we couldn't decide what to call it. But we knew that we wanted to say Gold Digger.
Oh, it had to be in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because that name has followed me my whole life. It's going to be on my gravestone.
Here lies a gold digger.
Yeah. Not that kind. So
not that kind.
It's a very fast-paced musical parody. I'm very irreverent, make lots of fun of myself. Stuff like when I was studying theater in New York, and my parents had already paid for me to go all the way through university, and I get that letter from home that says, you know, I think it's time that you be a secretary or start making some money because we are done. So I headed off. I didn't know what to do. All I knew is I wanted to continue to study, have time to audition, and what could I do? Be a Playboy bunny.
Oh boy.
Back then.
That
in
works.
the 60s, the 70s, if you remember.
I sure do.
So I go, I do have an audition, and they put you in these costumes. And back then, very risque, not by today's standards, but you know, cut up to here, down to here.
And you had to have that little,
right. I looked at myself in the mirror with the bunny tail and the big ears, and all I could think of was, if my dad could see me now, I'm in big trouble. But actually, and this is really a true story, I didn't make this up. The next day I had one more audition, and I was auditioning for Tommy Tune. Oh. And he hired me. And that was I didn't ever have to go to work as a Playboy bunny, but it's
Playboy
a good story.
Bunny, Tommy Tune.
Yeah. And then I toured and traveled with him, and somewhat like you, did tons of stock and rep, and ended up actually in Houston at the Houston Music Theater. And by now I was moving out of the chorus, and I was getting like these roles that required you to have blonde hair, blue eyes, and big talent. So the guest director of that show, they cast me as Adelaide in Guys and Dolls, because I do love comedy. And the guest director happened to come out from Hollywood, and he was the director of the Dean Martin television variety show. Oh. So you call this, you know, being in the right place at the right time, luck, serendipity,
whatever it is.
And so he said, after I'd finished working with him, he said, Suzy, come on over. And truth is, as you know, he never rehearsed with us during the week. Right. We always had a stand-in, Lee Hale, our musical director. And so when he did arrive on the set, he was already dressed in his tux, and he'd drive his fancy foreign car up to the stage door, get out. He wouldn't even come to dress rehearsal. He'd sit in his dressing room with his feet up, and Greg Garrison, his producer, would walk him through what was going to happen next and next. And then he would appear on the set.
See, I like that.
It was so live.
Yeah, the spontaneity of that. I love it.
And I being, if I really stand tall, I'm almost 5'4", but most of the girls were way taller than me, but they always put the short girls around Dean to make him look taller, as they do on most, all those old movies when the men stood on boxes.
Right.
And I would push him around in our dance numbers, because obviously he hadn't rehearsed them until we met our mark on the floor of the studio. Yeah. And anytime you pushed or pulled or tugged him, he just went with you. He just made it look so, which are huge memories for me.
Fantastic.
So the military.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thanks so much,
much love to you.
Thanks, everybody.